Hello, my name is Andrew Fake from Minds and Money TV. Delighted to welcome today Jared Scharf, who's the President and Chief Executive Officer of Desert Gold. Delighted to have you with us today, Jared.
Thank you very much, Andrew. Thanks for having me.
Um, Jared, I think that most of us know that Desert Gold is an exploration and resource development company with gold projects in West Mali. But can you tell us a little bit more about the company?
Yeah, sure. The company's main listing is on the Toronto Venture Stock Exchange under the ticker symbol DAU. And yes, that's correct. We're a West Mali focused gold exploration company. One of our distinguishing factors is we hold the largest regional land package of any non-producer over some of the most important regional features in the mine camp. So it's our flagship project is a 440 square kilometer project named the Senegal Mali Shear Zone project. And it is named after the regional structure that it overlays. And that structure controls 7 producing gold mines and about 35 million ounces of resources, reserves, and production. There's also a secondary structure in the belt known as the main transcurrent. We control about an 11-kilometer portion of that structure as well, and that's about a 12 million ounce camp. So we've got a very large producing mine contiguous to the north of us called Sadiola Yatela. That's owned by a company called Allied Gold, who just recently announced last week that they'll be going public at, I think, probably a fairly material valuation. They also announced that their reserves have increased north of 7 million ounces. This is a very large project. To the southwest of us is Endeavour Mining's Sabodala-Massawa group of mines. That was previously Teranga until Endeavour bought them for, or I want to say roughly about 2 billion. And then along that camp is Resolute's Mako mine as well. And then further south of us, you have Barrick's Loulo-Gounkoto group of mines. Historic production, reserves, and resources in that camp is probably close to 20 million ounces. And then further south is B2Gold's flagship Fekola mine. That's now a 7 million ounce plus camp. They produced over 600,000 ounces of gold there in 2022. And then there's a whole lot of very active explorers along that feature. In fact, last night, Fortuna Silver announced that it's acquiring Chesser Resources in a deal valued at around 100 million Australian dollars. And Chesser has a similar profile to Desert Gold in so far as it has about an 860,000 ounce resource, and it's proximal, and the company's proximal to the Senegal Mali Shear Zone. So in addition to being a very active camp for mining, development, and exploration, it also has a very long history of M&A activity in the region as well. And we're basically located right in the heart of this camp. So it's a very compelling project.
So it really sounds that you're in elephant country there. In
Absolutely.
terms of your plans for the next, say, 6 to 18 months,
Yeah.
what can Desert Gold investors expect to hear?
Yeah, so right now we're sitting, we published a maiden resource last year of about 1.1 million ounces at an average grade. That's combined, inferred, measured, and indicated at a grade of about 1.15 grams. This was just a starting point for us. There was no economic component attached to this resource. It was really just included as part of a larger scale property report. All the deposits are open along depth, but in addition to just the existing gold deposits that look like they're going to get materially bigger, there are over 21 other gold zones scattered throughout the property that have economic intercepts in terms of grade over width. And there's so much going on the project that I think it's a foregone conclusion that the resources are going to grow and that we're going to be able to upgrade the MRE. And our objective is to drill roughly 30,000 meters each season for the next 2 seasons. And based on what our discovery cost per ounce has been in the belt, our target is to get north of 2 million ounces. that's management's internal target with economic grades. And at that point, I think we'd be in the position to publish a PEA. So that's the objective over the next 12 to 18 months.
So you've got kind of a really sort of exciting project in a really, really well-established jurisdiction. Can you tell us a bit about your background? How many years have you been working for Desert Gold, and what made you decide to join?
Sure. So initially, I came on to Desert Gold as a director and an advisor in 2011. In Desert Gold's previous life, it was an exploration company in Nevada. And the company wanted to go in a different strategic direction. And so I really got involved in about 2011 and wanted to start looking in other camps that I felt were underexplored, that still had huge potential to make large discoveries. And that's when I really started looking more closely at the Senegal Mali Shear Zone, at Western Mali, Eastern Senegal. And we acquired our first project in Western Mali. It's a project called Farabanturu. It's about a 70 square kilometer license that still comprises the central block of what the Senegal Mali Shear Zone project is today. And from that point onward, we just continued to consolidate ground, doing local landowner deals. We acquired our neighbor in a public transaction in 2017, a company called Ashanti Gold. And so through a number of different acquisitions, we've grown the project to 440 square kilometers. And I had a lot of regional data in terms of soil geochemistry, magnetic data, geophysics, drilling, et cetera, that really sort of guided my acquisition strategy in the sense that I knew what I wanted to get. And then in 2016, the shareholders at the AGM made me president CEO. And, we've just been really driving it forward since that point. So I've been active in Mali for over a decade now.
And what I like about Desert Gold is you've also got a very strong management team. Can you tell us about some of your kind of key members of your management team?
Yeah, I think probably one of the most important individuals is our technical director, Don Dudek. He's a professional geologist with 15 plus years of specific regional experience in West Africa. In fact, he was the vice president of exploration for Avian Gold when they owned and operated the Tabakoto Sagala mine, which is about a 3.3 million ounce, two sister deposits that sit in very close proximity to one another. They were then bought out in 2012, I want to say, by Endeavor for about 440 million. He then went on to work for Endeavor, and he conducted the feasibility study at the Houndé project in Burkina. At that point, once he finished that work, he started Savory Gold, which was an asset in Burkina Faso gold exploration and development. His company was bought out by Semafo, and at that point, him and I started working much closer together. And he's been instrumental in driving the exploration strategy in country. And I think he has a target model that's really working, because our discovery cost per ounce has been below $10 US since yeah. I mean, the whole belt typically has generally a very low discovery cost per ounce, but that's still on the low side of the comp for sure.
Who are your main
he's
shareholders?
Very important. Pardon me?
Who are your main shareholders?
A German group named Orca Capital owns about 9.5%. Merck Investments, who is a NYSE listed precious metals fund run by a gentleman by the name of Axel Merck. They own about 8%. Management owns about 8.5%. Ross Beatty, who's kind of a household name in the community, legendary mining entrepreneur. He put in $1 million of his own capital and owns about 3.5–4% of the company. Our chairman, Sunny Janda, has been instrumental in helping us finance the company over the years. He and his group of investors probably control in excess of 20% through a number of different, investors in his network. So it's a pretty strong shareholder base for a smaller company.
What are your ESG credentials? I understand you've got a number of artisanal miners which are based on the property.
Yeah, so as in most of the area in Western Mali, Eastern Senegal, Burkina, there is a very large presence of artisanal mining. There always has been. It's legal for them to be there, mine surface minerals. The government has certain stipulations, like they can't use chemicals, explosives, mechanized equipment, or anything like that. ESG is sort of an emerging and evolving thing. We have always, since the very beginning, supported and been integrated and involved in the communities. On the Senegal Mali Shear Zone, there are probably a minimum of 20 communities of varying size that we provide aid and assistance for. So in a sense, we've always been doing ESG, and now we're just formalizing our policy, as this is obviously an emerging development in the sector, and it's a good development.
Mm-hmm. One last question. I obviously get the fact that where you are, there's lots of other sort of players in the jurisdiction, lots of other gold players out there as well. What stands you out from the rest of your peers?
Right. So insofar as we're talking about exploration and development peers, the main thing that separates us is not only the size and the scale of our project, but the two major structures that it has exposure to. And as I mentioned at the beginning of this presentation, we control a 43-kilometer strike extent of the Senegal Mali Shear and an 11-kilometer strike extent of the main transcurrent. And if you want to make a discovery that's large, that's significant, that's going to get your neighbor's attention, or that's going to have good economics, you have to have exposures to these structures. So it's not just good enough to just have land in Western Mali. You need to have exposure to these regional features. And I think we have as much or more than any non-producer in the belt.
Well, thank you very much for your time today. Would encourage all our listeners to go and check out Desert Gold. That was Jared Scharf, the President and Chief Executive Officer of Desert Gold. Thank you for your time, Jared.
Thank you, Andrew. Appreciate it.